and welcome. I am Tootight Lautrec, the Master Mistress of Glitterature Alley, and here we are once again at the bottom of the down staircase in the permanently sequestered remainder section of an unnamed local library, which may or may not have two lions couchant on the front steps, ready to no longer be couchant and to pounce off into some more serene territory, much like I was while reading this week's selection, Reading as a Writer, Patricia Highsmith's Strangers on a Train. Now, a friend of mine gave me this volume, which is selected novels and short stories of Patricia Highsmith, because I said that I had never read her before. And so I thought, well, I might as well give it a try. I've always heard good things about her. So I've talked about how when I read purely as an immersive experience, I'm reading solely as a reader, and particularly when I'm reading something for the first time. And when I am able to pull back from that deep immersion as the first reader to examine how a writer does whatever they do, then I consider that reading as a writer. So that I can see if I can detect some tricks or find some things that a writer does very well that I can sort of steal or borrow, or things that they do that I would like to avoid doing, or that I recognize that I do in my own writing and would like to stop doing. So I'll start off today by talking about reading Strangers on a Train as a writer, because I am deeply, deeply impressed right off the bat by Patricia Highsmith's use of language, and in particular, her use of verbs. And I'll just read you the first little bit of the first couple lines of Strangers on a Train. The train tore along. So tore along is a pretty good verb. The train tore along with an angry, irregular rhythm. It was having to stop at smaller and more frequent stations where it would wait impatiently for a moment, then attack the prairie again, another strong attack verb. But progress was imperceptible. The prairie only undulated, like a vast pink-tan blanket being casually shaken. The faster the train went, the more buoyant and taunting the undulations. Guy took his eyes from the window and hitched himself back against the seat. So, tore along, undulated, hitched himself back against the seat. Her use of language is extraordinary. And I have to give her tremendous props because she creates a world so effectively, so tense, so fraught, and really quite ugly that it's really quite astounding. And in fact, it's so effective that I could not finish this book yet. I plan to finish it because I want to see what happens and how she brings the story full circle. But and I think there is a lot to learn here. There's suspense and there's tension, and I could also learn how to create characters who are awful and yet human and have human frailties and human feelings as well. But I did not want to stay in this world that she created. She created the world very well. It felt real. I did not want to be there. My super sensitive, sort of silly, not to say supercilious, alter ego, Joe O'Malley, is right now working on writing A Comedy of Manners. So he's reading a lot of Jane Austen, a lot of Barbara Pym, a lot of E.M. Forster, and such. And Patricia Highsmith really kind of bogged his high, as the kids used to say a long, long time ago. But I have found that one benefit of reading a book that I have to set aside for purely emotional reasons is that it made me think of how much my reading pleasure involves the desire to watch or to be around characters who are depicted in this created world, and how much it is involved in seeing what happens or the plot. So sometimes I'm drawn in by the setting, sometimes I'm drawn in by the people and the characters or the humor of the situation, sometimes I'm drawn in by the language, and sometimes I'm actually drawn in by the plot, which is what is going to happen in the novel. I was drawn in by the language. I was curious about the characters, even though I did not like them. But and the world was very well described, but I just couldn't stay focused on them. I needed to get into fresher pastures. And I wonder, I mean, I think it's different for different readers. For instance, Jane Austen's world, I'm there. Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories, I'm there as well. John Cheever, yes, please. Edgar Allan Poe, of course. And all of these have drama, they have tension, they have bad behavior, and they even sometimes have evil deeds. And yet I find that I want to stay in those worlds, but I did not want to stay in this one. And E.M. Forster has something really quite interesting to say on this very topic in his wonderful book, Aspects of the Novel. And he says this, and I quote, "The final test of a novel will be our affection for it, as it is the test of our friends and of anything else which we cannot define. Sentimentality, to some a worse demon than chronology, will lurk in the background saying, 'Oh, but I like that. Oh, that doesn't appeal to me.' And all I can promise is that sentimentality shall not speak too loudly or too soon. The intensely stifling human quality of the novel is not to be avoided. The novel is sogged with humanity. There is no escaping the uplift or the downpour, nor can they be kept out of criticism. We may hate humanity, but if it is exercised or even purified, the novel wilts. Little is left but a bunch of words." So, call me sentimental. I've been called worse, believe you me. Call me sentimental, but I do, for the moment, wish to be in the world that I'm reading about. And even books that aren't specifically, I find, about evil or evil deeds have sometimes caused me to pause. Edith Wharton's Ethan Frome caused me to pause because it was just so tense. The sense of yearning in that book was so intense that I had to pause, set it aside for a few days, and then come back to it later. And it's a very short novel, but it affected me quite greatly. Another writer whose work does that is Jessica Treadway's stories. She's an amazing writer, and she writes about very tense situations. And if you haven't read her, I would recommend her completely. But sometimes the tension that she creates, she does it so well that I just think, oh gosh, I'm going to have to just hang on for just a moment and come back to it. And I do, and I'm always happy that I did. So today I had my very first DNF. I did not finish this book. For this channel, it's my very first one, Patricia Highsmith's Strangers on a Train. I fully intend to finish it, but not yet. And I do wonder, how many of you have stopped reading when it was just too much for purely emotional readings? If you have, let me know in the comments what you've done and why you've stopped. Alternatively, what other aspects of a book have made you stop reading? I know a lot of people have a do not finished list, and I would love to hear what those are and what the reasons for it are. Either if you thought that the language was too poor, or if the plot was too easily detectable, or any other reason, let me know in the comments. Whether you've set it aside temporarily or whether you've set it aside forever. There is, I will have to say, real wonder in Patricia Highsmith's writing. And if you have a suggestion about another thing that may be a little less tense or intense of hers, then I'd be happy to hear what that would be. But for right now, I will look for wonder elsewhere because it is all around. All I have to do is pay attention. Until we meet again, I am Tootight Lautrec. Mwah.